Hello, welcome in, hello, hi, I think I'm live. Finally, I am a bit late, but welcome to Streams of Collective Consciousness. If you're new, I stream every Tuesday and Friday, and today is Tuesday, April 22nd. I go live from 4 p.m. Central Time until 6:30ish Central Time, so very concise 2.5 hours. I always use this Canva deck, so if you don't want to stick around for the 2.5 hours, I totally get it. We are busy creatures. So this Canva deck will be in my description. You can skip around. The links will be in there. Hopefully you can hear me. This thing was going this way. But I probably will fix that soon when I get to a little section where you can see more about me. But yes, I'm excited to get started. If you're watching the recorded version, like I said, feel free to skip around. There's a bunch of news happening, so I would love for you to stay informed. But yeah, here's basically how it works. So at 4 p.m. I get started, and then I immediately jump into sustainable fashion news, and then I take like a little break at 5 Central Time just because my social battery runs out during that time. And then I get into more general like social issues, environmentalism, positive news later on, like at 5. And then I like watching fashion shows. So yeah, that's what I do later on. And can you hear me, guys? I'm trying to like see if I can actually be heard. Okay, yes, so perfect. It is working, audio is working. And I'm actually considering getting a gaming PC or gaming laptop. I think a gaming laptop would be a better option for me versus anything else. And then that would be the laptop I'd be streaming out of, because I literally was going to start the live stream right now and my whole system crashed. I think I didn't update the computer or something, but I literally had to restart my entire laptop at 4 right when I was supposed to live stream. So I'm probably going to get a gaming laptop a couple weeks from now to do some fashion gaming, be a cozy fashion gamer, play like all the Y2K fashion games. But here's that. And then if you guys ever want me to talk about anything like specific, you can definitely fill out this community submission form. It is in my description. And I will look at it, see what you guys want me to talk about, and then I will cover it in the next stream. So like on Friday, I'll talk about it if I think it aligns with what I am doing. So that's definitely something if you want me to cover anything specific. But I mostly talk about sustainable fashion, environmentalism, and social justice. But here's me. Feel free to stalk me, follow me. My social medias are on the Canva deck while I check on the audio and fix this weird audio setup. Oh, I'm like literally blocking the entire thing with my head. Very interesting. Let's see if I can move this thing. Yes. Oh, it's not moving. I don't know why it's not letting me to move. Usually it lets me move my camera thing. I think it's just like stuck. I've been having a lot of tech issues today. Let's see. Let me just make this deck smaller like that. Don't mind the background. Okay, so the audio should be a bit better. I shall work on moving this thing. I think it's just a glitch. I've been having a lot of glitch. Sorry, this is just a bit very weird thing to see right there. You're seeing me and me and me. Okay, I think that fixed the glitch, so I should be able to move it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I've been having all sorts of tech problems today. I think it's just my PCs or my laptop is just over full. Like the memory storage is super full. But without further ado, if you ever want to join the community, I have a Slack. I have an opportunity for you to write for my blog if you ever want to like get started with sustainable fashion writing. That's something that I wish I had when I was younger. Just a place to be published. It's super flexible, very informal. And then I will be having a monthly Substack. That's over here in this little corner. It's a Substack newsletter advert. All those things are in my description. You can also follow me on social media. I have my blog here. But personal news time, I like to do like a personal update section. Basically, I just hate when people do stuff and don't really introduce themselves, don't really say what they're about, they don't explain their values, they don't explain anything about them. Like people, live streamers often enough, especially big ones, assume that you know who they are. And even like smaller live streams, you don't know any of their lore, you don't know anything about them. So if you're ever curious, this is just a section where I talk about myself for like literally 5 minutes, and then I just like get into the news to humanize things a bit. I feel like news can be very abstract, fact-based, or supposedly fact-based, because journalists are supposed to be unbiased, but I think humans are inherently biased because of their perspectives. But that's just another whole different tangent. But yeah, I like to humanize things. I don't call myself an expert in any of the stuff that I do. I don't try to pretend that I know all the answers. I do look a lot younger than it seems. Like I'm 28, but I do look like I'm in my 20s. My bedroom is not helping. But I think perceptions and illusions are very easy to be presented or to be perpetuated, I guess, online. Like you don't really know the person until the person explains themselves basically online, because you're only seeing like the outside surface of like what they're talking about. But yeah, I'm very heavily influenced by my activist background. I live in a frontline city and I'm struggling to find work. I've been saying this for the last couple months. If you follow me on social media, you've been seeing my personal struggle. But like finding a job right now within the current market is very, very difficult. Like even me with 2 college degrees and like years of experience, I'm still struggling. I like literally have to follow up with people. I have to cold call. I have to network. I have to like volunteer to like even get a remote chance of getting hired. But even then, like that doesn't guarantee anything. Like I volunteered with this environmental justice organization for 3 years and they never hired me. And then they kept saying you don't have enough electoral skills, even though I literally built up their constituency efforts. They would say you're not a right fit right now. And I would apply and I would apply and I would apply and they would never hire me. And they usually hired like white presenting individuals. And they would always skip out on me, even though I had the most experience. So that was very traumatizing. I literally volunteered for 3 years at a place for like 30 plus hours a week during COVID of all times, and they never wanted to hire me. So that literally was devastating, especially when I like live in and I'm trying to survive in a frontline city. But I try not to hold grudges, but volunteer work and a frontline Latina sometimes often doesn't mix. A lot of like environmental organizations are white led and like sustain power and privilege within those that they understand should have it, aka white people. So even though I'm like white presenting, I'm very much someone that doesn't really believe in like said professionalism. I've said this in the past live streams. It's like professionalism often makes us think that we should behave a certain way or be a certain way, or I don't know, like for me it incentivizes being fake, and that's not who I am. Like I love being straightforward. I love to understand the truth of situations, to dig deep, to ask questions. I've been villainized my whole life to ask because I've asked questions, and I've hated being that villain. I've hated being a villain for wanting to learn, to ponder, to question, to be curious, and to ask those questions has been something that people have hated me for. And so that's a lot of the reasons why I started live streaming, because it allows me to be like, okay, why is this that way? Let me look at the news, let me question, let me understand with everyone else. And like if you don't like questions, that's your prerogative. You can click out of the live stream, not saying you should, but I have struggled a lot because people just want me to be complacent, to stay within the lines, to stay within the box, to um, fit the mold, basically. And that's an injustice, especially for those that are neurodivergent who just naturally gravitate in their own world and their own line of thinking. But I mean, within our like quote unquote neurotypical society, you have to dress a certain way, you have to talk a certain way, you have to be a certain way to like get the opportunities, to get the job, to be in corporate America, to like literally destroy the earth, to have a good life. That's how I see corporate America. It's a soul sucker, it's an earth sucker, it's just something that you have to do to like make money. So I'm not really surprised I've been struggling to find a job because nothing really aligns within my values. I think capitalism has corrupted a lot of the good in the world, but I think we can always find solutions, always be positive. So a lot of the things that I do talk about is like solution oriented. It's positive. It's going towards a collective future of what we want. That's why I love showcasing those that are actually doing things. I love showcasing campaigns, movements, activists, leaders, and just normal people who want to come together and like do something. And one of the things that like stood out to me today was that I was in a cafe waiting to pick up my brother from school. He's going to a local community college, and I drop him off in the mornings, and then I have to wait for an hour to pick him up again. And I go to a local Mexican owned cafe that has like a huge open door sort of like garage set up where they like open the garage door and all the light and the air streams in, but it's very fancy. And a lady besides me was just complaining about her corporate job to someone on the phone, and her energy was so bad that it hurt my stomach. But I got all the tea. I got names. She has drama with her mom. A coworker told her she was weird and different, and she was spewing hate for like literally an hour and a half, and had 1,000 points of drama to talk about with the person on the phone. And that is a reminder of the person I don't ever want to become. I understand like when people are hateful or spiteful, like that's kind of natural sometimes. Like, yeah, like I'm mad or like I want to get revenge. I've felt that sometimes, not always, but sometimes. But this woman was like constantly just nitpicking every single thing and every single person in her life, and it really drained me just by being next to her. And I feel like she was almost like the antithesis to like what I do in my life, and like literally these live streams, like I want to focus more on solutions, on the goodness of others, like the solutions, and moving forward in a good way that literally lets in others and lets in solutions and I don't know, positivity. So I wanted to give her a hug, but I was like, I don't know what is really going on with her. She just seemed burnt out. But I don't know. She was just on some stuff. I could have like spilled all the tea on that lady if I had her contacts, but I didn't want to. But moving into the live stream, this is what gets me excited about literally everything in life. So one of the ways that I started into sustainable fashion and conceiving like what change could look like in the fashion industry could be was through a group called Fashion Revolution. And every year they make a weekly sort of campaign called Fashion Revolution Week. And every year it's slightly skewed differently in its messaging and narrative, but like basically the ethos or like the heart of it is to adopt sustainable fashion basically. And so this year they center themselves to say think globally and act locally. And so this group is a global effort, and it's made up of like volunteer ambassadors. They do have some staff, but they're not that politically oriented. They're more so advocacy efforts than anything else. When I was in college back in like 2015, 16, I discovered them, and I think that was like one of the first years they had launched. Let me make my camera a bit smaller. Or I'll go down here. Okay, so here is fashionrevolution.org if you haven't heard of them, but I'm sure you have heard of them. But they have been running for a long time, probably like 10 years by now. And so they have a whole page of their campaigns here. So this is the one that's running today through the 27th. So today is the first day of their Fashion Revolution Week. And they basically explain it as an annual campaign that brings together the world's largest fashion activism movement for a week of action. This year, we will harness the transformative power of collective action and to drive systemic change. So by uniting through our global network, we can amplify our voices, pool our resources, and hold one another accountable. Community is not just a group of individuals. It is a powerful tool for justice that can transform fear, anger, and grief into hope, which is what I truly love to see, as I was saying. And then as powerful stakeholders, brands and governments can and should drive change, but each of us as individuals can play an important role in mobilizing brands and governments to take ambitious action. And so through the collective action of our global network, we can promote a change in mindset and business models that move us away from internal growth and business as usual to innovative models and systems that remain within planetary boundaries. Also, this internal growth thing is a myth. Like, we can't internally grow. Like, eventually we're going to run out of fossil fuels. The only internal resource we have is sun and wind, which are natural elements, but we are not harnessing those because they're not profitable, which is the most ironic theory or idea, because it will always exist. Like, sun and air will always exist. It can always be a natural, profitable resource as long as we have the tools to convert it into energy, you know? But yeah, so hopefully their goal with this week is to empower citizens to engage with their local policymakers. So they want global issues to manifest differently in each region, which is natural because every region is different. So they explain that each country and region of the world participates in and is affected by the global fashion systems differently. Having an understanding of how your community fits into the bigger global picture is essential if you are to shift the global fashion system to a more sustainable one. And they believe that small actions can lead to a big impact. So individual efforts, when multiplied by tens and hundreds and thousands of people, create powerful movements that cannot be ignored. We need to focus and streamline our vast network of voices to change the very rules the fashion industry plays by. And then they also are encouraging this narrative that we're stronger together, which I agree with. Hence the live stream, and hence it's called Streams of Collective Consciousness. We're always coming together with our thoughts and actions. But it says that the organization spans 80 countries, allowing us to share regional insights and understandings of the global industry's overwhelming problems. Through our global network, we can think collectively, raise visibility, apply pressure to stakeholders, and learn from each other to drive meaningful policy change that holds brands legally accountable. I'm simply featuring this campaign and this organization because of my love for this organization. This is literally how I got started in, I guess you can call it, activism and sustainable fashion. They have so many good resources in their resource section. I would always read all the guides. I would look at all their little posters, and I would repost their stuff on Instagram, and that's how I got my entry into it. Now they even have a podcast. They have other campaigns that you can look into, all sorts of resources that were not there like 10 years ago, so that's a plus. And then they do have a guide here at the bottom where you can learn how to get more involved. So it explains like how the fashion industry basically functions. So it describes the intersection. Let me move myself up so you can see the graph here. I'm like really just taking up space today, huh? But basically here was the industry, culture, and policy. They're all interconnected. But basically in the middle it says a fashion ecosystem that they're trying to build, this one that represents the environment and people, recognizing global diversity, and builds new collaborative solutions towards effective systemic change. So that's really like the heart of what it seems like they're trying to connect everything together to. Let me move myself back down, or make myself smaller just for this little section. I think this is important. Can you imagine if they actually paid me to talk about this? That'd be great. Not today though, not today. But yeah, it says think globally, act locally. And so they have a whole plan on what they're going to talk about. So today is Earth Day, and they will have their own sort of content and posts. And then on the 24th, they're going to be remembering Rana Plaza. We'll watch some videos about that, but Rana Plaza is a factory that basically collapsed on itself with garment workers inside, despite the garment workers and a lot of the staff members and managers knowing that the building was not in the proper conditions anymore to be worked out of. There was little cracks in the wall, so it could have been prevented that these garment workers died, but they were forced to work that day despite the building clearly being very unsafe. And shortly after, the building collapsed with them in it, and a lot of garment workers passed away because of it. It's a horrible, horrible situation of like negligence and power dynamics and just unsafe working conditions overall. And then they will have a Mend in Public Day on Saturday 26th. And that is something you can definitely still participate in. It's a very decentralized movement, meaning there isn't a lot of like hierarchy or like control over how you really participate. Like every nation, every local area can take this up in their own way, but there is a lot of guidance and a lot of facts here that you can use for your social media posts or in support of what they're doing. So they do talk about garment rights a lot. Like 50 million people were living in modern slavery, and in 2021 50 million people were living in modern slavery. 12 million of them were children. Modern slavery is very present within the fashion industry, as you may or may not know. They talk about the environmental facts. So like 26.6 million tons of textile waste is present across the nation. It was mapped in 12 countries. Yeah, these are all very depressing stats. The fashion industry is kind of like riddled with issues. So this is just a little page. Marissa says, I'll definitely be looking into the Mend in Public Day. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's exciting. And it's like something we can all do whenever we have free time. If you're part of like a major city, like I am in Chicago, they're doing like a community Mend in Public Day. But I unfortunately can't go because I have work that day. But I mean, I can still mend at work when I have downtime, or I can mend like every single day. I think this is just like a collective effort to inspire more concrete action on concrete days. But they do have a lot of ethos too as well in what they're doing. I think it's just to inspire more values in ambassadors and like in the general community. So trying to, stop an awareness of what's happening in the fashion industry, to like stop hopelessness. I know that's a feeling that's very common in the environmental and fashion spaces. Like I was an activist, not only an environmental activist, but a fashion activist. And I would see so much hopelessness and like, oh my God, like when are things ever going to get better? Like how is this ever going to be fixed? And we nearly had to like inspire each other through one-on-ones, which are like very intimate one-to-one conversations where we would just talk about our lives, talk about what's at stake if we don't move forward, if we don't like care, if we don't have a continued vision of what the world could be if we cared. So yeah, even the best of us can get hopeless. I definitely feel hopeless. Some chatters in the past have reminded me like, no, like there's solutions. I think Marissa even has been a person that's been like, I think there's like really great stuff, there's really great solutions. I think disconnection is something also that I've experienced as well. Like I don't have any friends to talk about sustainable fashion with. Obviously I could bring up the topic, but a lot of times they just want to engage in small talk and like have fun and like escape from the world basically on the weekend. So sometimes I just don't really feel like I have anyone to talk to about this, and my family have just become experts in themselves as well, because I talk about the nuances every single day with them. So I think just like having community is so important. And I think Fashion Revolution has grown so well because they provide a community when we don't have any in real life or don't feel like we have any in real life. And then they like try to move forward towards solutions. So like thinking about new ways businesses can work. Like, what can we achieve through businesses? Understanding that information and awareness is really important to driving change. You know, coming together as a collective can actually be very inspiring, very fulfilling, very fruitful, even if it is just one action, even if it is just mending. And then the sense of empowerment. My head's in the face. Head's in the face? My head is in the way. Here, let me move myself. It's me against this guide. Okay, so empowerment. They also actually really care that every small action can lead to very significant change. But the end result, which is really important to highlight before I move on to the next page, is that they explain that citizens should put pressure on local policymakers, which is something I always say. Like, I always say we don't need more stuff. Like, we need more policies. We need more laws being passed. And I love how Fashion Revolution has grown to pressure more policymakers and more laws than they ever have in the past. But I've been following them for years, and this is like really one of the first times I see them be so bold to be like, we need to change the policies. Like, we need to pressure the private sector. So that is amazing, and hopefully we see more activism from Fashion Revolution. They definitely have been more of an advocate or advocacy group than activist. So I love this change. I love this angle more so than any other year. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure we're always grappling, even if it doesn't feel like anyone really cares or is thinking critically. But yeah, I'm just a human. Everyone's just a human. Oh my god, am I glitching? Don't censor me, YouTube. But yeah, we're just people, often getting censored by the far right. But yeah, I love this. Be curious. Nice. Ask questions. This is what I was saying on my personal segment question, that I want more spaces that let me to ask questions. And I think this is a perfect place if you also want to ask questions and to learn. Fashion Revolution is like super friendly. It's like non-judgmental. All the ambassadors are super fun and friendly. They're people just like me, just like you. But they've just decided to step up in more of a collective effort. Yes. Let me see what else is going on here. They have a lot of pictures. It's kind of distracting me. My eyes are going boop, 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 boop. Boop, boop, boop. Let's see. I don't know what this is. Read the overview of the current fashion industry for a place to start. Oh. So yeah, these are the local resources you can have. So identifying ways to take action. I'm probably not going to read this for the sake of time, but they have a toolkit for you to identify your local issue specifically. It prompts you to make a list of potential stakeholders, community leaders, NGOs, small businesses, influencers, and policymakers. And could they be allies, advocates, or even a detractor in your identified issue? These are actually questions for forming a campaign that I learned about when I was in activism. So I think they're, in a way, they're training them, or training us, ambassadors, anyone, to basically form their own local campaign and to take local activism. So that's really cool. Super cool. It's like an activism starter kit. And then here's the SMART goals. So when you're doing something, an objective, be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Nice. Yes. Getting some major flashback from activism. Oof. We would go over all these questions for hours. It's making my head hurt. I'm thinking about all the times I had to do this. Literally, we would have trainings or like meetings on figuring out what campaign we would want to do. And these questions, these things would literally take hours to talk about. It was intense. But all worthy to question and talk about wherever you are, like wherever you are, what's the issues, what's your place in it, how are you going to be involved, what are current policies existing. Yes, very, very good questions. It's actually making my head hurt because I have trauma from activism. But I'm technically still an activist, just not have so heavily invested in certain groups anymore. Alrighty, okay. It's actually really, to take like a personal note, I used to be a leader within activist spaces and now I'm more like a team member. So I just have to remember sometimes to like to chill and sit back. All these things just made me want to like go in front of a classroom or like a room and just start preaching or form a fashion campaign right now. I'm not about to do that. Ugh. Okay, so yeah, it's just like a starter kit for organizing. Oh, look at this one. Collective dialogue and organizing toolkit to promote that. Nice. I wonder who put this together. I've never seen this sort of wording from this organization before, but they did lay out a bunch of their goals and aims and objectives for the next week. My face is always in the way, so I'm going to move myself over. So basically, Tuesday, the 22nd, today, they're going to be talking about decarbonization, and that will be specifically within the North American region. Tomorrow will be a just transition, so that will be the LATAM, LATAM region. So Fashion Revolution Brazil. Thursday, the 24th, will be the Rana Plaza Remembrance, and I think that's just like a global thing. You can donate to organizations. Nice. Friday, 25th, it will be focused on living wages. The region will be Asia, and then Fashion Revolution India will be releasing a report that day. Very interesting. And then the 26th, it'll be talking about conscious consumption. It'll be in Europe, and they'll have a Meant in Public Day, and I'm sure it'll be, I saw an Instagram post that'll be everywhere. You can take a look at that right now. And then Sunday, the 27th, will be a positive business model day, and it'll be in Africa. And then the Fashion Revolution Kenya group will be presenting alternative textiles in Kenya. So that's very interesting. Everyone has like a theme. Everyone is specializing in something. So cool. Let's look at their social media. So what I base myself a lot from is their Instagram. Unfortunately, I pay attention to their Instagram a lot. Oh my god, I talked so much. It's been 40 minutes? Jesus. Okay, here's a video introducing the campaign.
Marks a pivotal moment. With just 5 years remaining to meet the ambitions of the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the commitments of the Paris Agreement, urgent action is non-negotiable. In 2024, the planet saw its hottest 4 consecutive days on record, and the critical 1.5 degrees threshold was breached repeatedly for an entire year. This stark reality forces us to reflect on an essential question. Is the fashion industry prepared to take meaningful action on the climate crisis, or will it remain a bystander in the race against time? Major fashion brands are largely failing to commit to phasing out coal, which is a primary driver of the lack of transparency about how they are funding decarbonization efforts and supporting workers affected by climate change. Fashion Revolution Week 2025 aims to spotlight these urgent challenges and catalyze change. While the industry operates on a global scale, its impact, and therefore the solutions required, varies by region, community, and context. Our industry overview highlights the most pressing issues that must be addressed to create a fashion ecosystem that prioritizes people and planet over profit. Our intention is to inspire bold, localized action by empowering people to prioritize the issues that matter most in their regions. This moment demands nothing less than transformative change. We know this long list of topics can be overwhelming and daunting, but remember, there is hope. We can turn anger, despair, and fear into hope through collective action, and that is exactly our intention with this year's Fashion Revolution Week. So join us. Fashion Revolution!
Cute.
Fashion Revolution.
Oh, I love this. What makes up a fashion revolutionary? Get involved guide. We've read that, so we're part of that. Mending. We're on our way to do that. Is that what is that? A needle thingy? Socks that are mended. Fabric and paper clips. The Fashion Revolution website, we were just on that. And then books. Oh, I got that book. Where is it? Wait, I literally got that. Whenever I want to find something, I can never find it. I literally own that book. It's just somewhere. It's in a pile of my books. It's called the Anti-Capitalistic Book of Fashion. Let me look it up. Anti-Capitalist Book of Fashion. I have a hoarding problem with books, so I need to figure that stuff out. I would show you, but I'm ashamed. But if you want a good book detailing the nuance of the fashion industry, this is a great book. The Anti-Capitalistic Book of Fashion by Tansy Hoskins. It basically talks about how fashion is political and gets into the nuance and stuff. Yes. Let's see. It does have like a socialist leaning, but it's a very good book. I literally took like a year to read it very thoroughly and very carefully and took notes on it last year. It's a very good book. And then it's like $20 paperback, I mean. And the site is plutobooks.com. Very nice. And then headphones. What does headphones have to do with it? Repair is a revolutionary act. Nice. But let me see where I saw the... Okay, here's the post I was thinking about. Mend and Public Day events lined up. So in North Canada, they have... North Canada? What is happening? North America, there's a bunch of stuff in Canada. And then in the USA, there's a lot. Massachusetts, Minnesota, New York, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, South Dakota. Latin America, there's stuff happening in Argentina, Brazil, and different little cities. Oh, Mexico, Querétaro. Oh, I want to go there. Querétaro. And then Asian Pacific area, Australia, India, Philippines. It's basically a very like global organization. Austria, Belgium, England, Manchester, London, Tamworth. I don't have a good English accent. France, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Netherlands, Scotland. Very nice, very nice. Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Wales, Egypt, Kenya, South Africa. So yeah, bunch of events are happening everywhere. I'm sure that they have everything listed on their website. Like if you go back to their website, I'm sure that they have all the specific locations and like sign-ups somewhere. I don't remember where though. Is it at the bottom? Okay, yeah. Find an event. It's a very easy website. So all the things that are happening are here. Then there's also a lot of like online events. So, oh, what's over here? Mend and Public Day. You can attend one, you can host your own, you can mend at home, or you can just spread the word. So it's a very flexible organization. I love them. I give them a 10 out of 10. Even if I literally spent like 30 minutes talking about them without me realizing, it is a very beautiful organization. And I love seeing them grow more into like activism and putting the pressure on policy and laws. And I kind of want to be more involved because of it. I used to be a really active ambassador, but not anymore. I don't know. I just kind of distanced myself after college, just out of sheer pressure of getting through college, and then kind of forgot about them. But yeah, here's all their stuff on their website. But major shout out for them for developing me for who I am on my journey towards sustainable fashion. I don't think without this organization I don't think without them I would be doing any of this. I wouldn't have cared so much. I wouldn't have started to ask more questions. So they were a catalyst for me, and so I'll always be in their debt because of that. I was actually like having major flashbacks when I was talking about them when I was scrolling through their social media. I'm like, oh my gosh, it brought me back to when I was like 19 and just barely learning about all this stuff. But okay, so going back into the news, there's been some bad news and some good news, as always. That will always be the case. Bad and good will always intermingle. But Urban Outfitters is just out here to annoy us, as always, because basically they made a couple of collaborations, and some of them are like vintage inspired items. Some are upcycled pieces, supposedly, that are supposed to be sustainable. But I don't know if this is greenwashing, because I'm always very hesitant to support major brands and like their initiatives towards sustainable fashion. But basically, they're expanding its curator collection of exclusive fashion collaborations this month. So they are basically ramping up their vintage and remade programs. And so the 4 collections are going to be dropping throughout the month of April and will feature vintage pieces along with upcycled designs from dead stock material. And the collections will be available online, and price ranges will be from $45 to $270. This, I think, is greenwashing. That's my hypothesis. I cannot confirm, but basically the article says that all 4 collabs have a shared focus on size inclusivity and are available in size extra small through extra extra large. And then Urban Outfitters supposedly is making vintage and reworked fashion a key component of its product mix. Okay, whatever that means. Product mix sounds like an M&M bag. Just gonna mix everything together, like all the flavors in there. But let's see what else are they saying. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so there's going to be a 60-piece Mags Rags collab that will drop April 17th, and will come from Pittsburgh artist Maggie McLaughlin. Can you imagine trying to say your last name 3 times? McLaughlin. That's a tongue twister. But basically the line will upcycle Urban Outfitters fabrics. Okay, sounds good. Oh, this is interesting. So the head of brand marketing at Urban Outfitters, hear this. Pay attention. If you haven't been paying attention, pay attention. Head of brand marketing at Urban Outfitters, Cynthia with no H, says vintage is the DNA of our brand at Urban Outfitters. Okay, vintage is the DNA. This is bullshit. Wait, we gotta be serious here. This is serious journalism. This is a serious press release. Vintage is the DNA of our brand, and we're excited to continue building out our vintage and remade franchise. Whenever someone combines vintage with franchise, I think we gotta be suspicious here. Especially through these exclusive collaborations with such strong rising talents, Cynthia with no H says. I'd never realized that Urban Outfitters had their DNA rooted in vintage. I didn't know they were a vintage fast fashion brand. Interesting, very interesting. Okay, so it says, I'm trying to be serious, okay. We know our Gen Z customers are looking for pieces that are both unique and conscious. Wait. And these drops are an exciting way to deliver on that and revamp our vintage and remade with a capital M offerings. Okay, so Urban Outfitters also launched a vintage-inspired collaboration in March with Hanes. What? I didn't know that. I completely missed that one. Basically, the 28-piece innerwear. I've never heard underwear be called innerwear. Interesting. The 28-piece innerwear and apparel collection featured new interpretations of basics and positioned itself as vintage vintage Americana. What is this? Guys, we're like in late stage capitalism with these words. What is vintage Americana? Oh, I'm trying not to freak out. God, this pisses me off so much. What are they doing? Vintage Americana? No, that sounds like words to sell you more shit you don't even need. Oh my gosh. I didn't hear about this. How did this pass through my lenses of research? So it came out March 3rd. Hanes will collaborate with Urban Outfitters on capsule. 28-piece innerwear. Capsule is called Hanes Heritage X Urban Outfitters and will have new takes of basics, including boxer briefs, ribbed tanks, crew socks, and t-shirts. It'll range from $10 to $45. Oh my god, what is happening? Wait, I low-key want to see if they made a video about this, because what is vintage Americana? I am so curious, because this just sounds like a bunch of BS, and I'm not here for it, but I literally want to see their narrative. How are they branding their audacity? That's my question. If we're going to be reading about this, we might as well explore it, because their audacity is out of these walls. These marketing people must have been like, we're geniuses, we're going to make hella money with these concerned Gen Zs. Oh, they care about the climate, they care about all these things being on fire. Let's sell them some innerwear, vintage Americana. What is happening? I don't see anything. What was the collection called again? Something American. Hanes Heritage and Urban Outfitters is called the thing. It's interesting it's not on YouTube. I don't think it's gotten traction. Nope. Wait, are they in the clothing rental game? No. Oh wait, they're in charge of Newly, aren't they? No, I forgot about that. I don't like Newly, I'm sorry. Uh-oh. Newly's a rental thing that they've done. Oh, I think I made a video about this. Yeah, I did. My memory's so bad. Okay, so we can't find anything about this collection. Can we get some pictures? Okay, here's this. It's just the same picture we already saw. That's it. Okay. I'm not impressed. How is this vintage Americana? It's just young people in underwear. Okay, I'm just gonna, you know, I don't understand what they're doing. I'm trying to understand their logic here. I would love to see a little video where they explain stuff. My head low-key hurts from this. What is happening? I'm disappointed once again. Then they had another one. Let me see. What other one did they mention? They had a collaboration. Oh no, that's the same one. See, my brain hurts so much about what I just read that I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. Bunch of BS here, bunch of BS there. Okay, let me look at their vintage and remade program. I think that one's an interesting thing to look into. I have not heard of this. Urban Outfitters vintage and remade program. I would love a video on this. Why is nothing here? Very interesting. My research skills have failed me once again on YouTube. I keep going on Google. My bad. Cozy, do your job. Okay. Urban Outfitters Vintage Remade Program. Oh, here it is. What is this? Is this an Instagram post? Oh. No words, just vibes. I love when they use their words. I love when they explain. Nope, it's just a bunch of collections. What is Mags Rags? That's one of them. Handmade and one of a kind. I wonder how they're going to scale this, because if they're doing handmade and one of a kind, I wonder how well this specific brand is going to keep up with the demand, basically. I love the cool girl aesthetic. It's just I would love some more information.
Hello?
April 17th?
At urbanoutfitters.com.
Wait. The pieces are made of what?
Everything is made with recycled urban scrap material.
What am I doing?
Mags, rags, and urban outfitters are what?
I heard April's urban.
Okay.
And the car went boom. We like the cars that go boom. We're Tigra and Bunny, and we like the boom. We like the.
I think there's already a certain amount, right, that they specified that would be made. 60 pieces, yeah. Mags Rag will have 60 handmade pieces that will come out April 17th. Interesting. Well, I just feel like this is not really sustainable fashion or sustainability actions that we need. I mean, it's good that they're uplifting local brands and local initiatives, but does this do more harm than good? I'm not swayed to support this brand with their collaboration with Urban Outfitters. I don't resonate.
Who is this?
Dang, we really do need laws. We need some policies. We need systemic change. Good on Mags for getting a major brand deal, I guess, with Urban Outfitters, but we need some systemic change. Mags, do you have their phone numbers so I can talk to them? You do have a phone right here. Can we talk to Urban Outfitters directly? Can we take a call with them? Do you got their phone number? Can we tell them we need systemic change? That was step 1. Now step 2. Systemic change. Don't get me wrong, I love the aesthetic. I think handmade, cool fashion is obviously what's needed, but when it is in collaboration with a major fast fashion brand, basically, I don't really support that. But if Mags needs to get the money, the bread, the clout, go for it. But we need some laws over here. We need some systemic laws. Oh my gosh. But moving on to other initiatives that are inspiring hope and goodness in life. So St. Louis had a clothing swap, I think it was, on vintage fashion. I don't remember what this was. A clothing swap, I feel. Oh no, it's shops / brands that are selling vintage and modern clothing and plus size options. What are these ads? Wix.
I've always loved thrifting and I always loved the hunt. I think my favorite part about
besides connecting with people, is like actually finding the item. So for me, it's the dig, it's the hunt.
Mara Hampton is the owner and curator of Ethical Bodies, a plus-sized fashion brand. And though she and her brand manager, Trisha Stecklin, love thrifting, they say it's not always accessible for plus-sized people.
Shopping in general as a plus-size person, especially in store, is hard. We are very limited, even in the size ranges. Most stores, unfortunately, go up to a 3X. So anything above that is hard in, day-to-day shopping in store. But then especially when, thrifting, you may or may not find anything over a size extra large.
And Ethical Bodies isn't the only business working to make plus-sized fashion more.
I'm glitching out. I'm so sorry if I'm glitching. I'm just gonna give it a second. Wow, they're gonna gatekeep good, accessible, plus-size vintage fashion from YouTube? Why am I glitching? If you're just staring at me, I'm so sorry. Moment of silence for those that have fallen from the graces of YouTube, which is me. Why am I glitching? Let me just give it a second. Let's just give it a second. Wow. I need some better Wi-Fi. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. I like this font. Just filling up space with random stuff. Why am I glitching out? Here, let me turn off my Wi-Fi. My phone Wi-Fi, I turned it off, so maybe that will help. Am I back? Guys, YouTube, I swear, I love conservatism. I don't even know how to say that. I love America. YouTube, I love America. YouTube, bring me back. I love America. Am I back? Oh my God, I'm literally back. Am I back? Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, the key word to get my YouTube back and not glitch out is we have to say we love America. Okay? I think they heard revolution, activism, and vintage fashion and accessibility way too much. They canceled me for a second. God forbid a woman has rights. Okay, we love America. Let's get back to it.
More available in St. Louis.
The Goodish is a size-inclusive, queer-centered vintage and home goods brand, and we also do styling services.
That's Erica Hallman with their partner and co-owner of The Goodish, Kay Scott. Hallman says they first met the Ethical Bodies duo a few years ago when both brands were doing pop-ups and online sales.
It was the first time I'd really seen somebody doing something similar and being size inclusive in St. Louis.
The Goodish and Ethical Bodies partnered to host the first Big Body Bash together in 2023.
Which is a vendor market exclusively for plus-size bodies. And it was so successful.
So when the Ethical Bodies team began looking for a brick and mortar store, a partnership with The Goodish made sense.
I was just browsing storefronts and saw one on Jefferson and texted Erica and was like, would you be interested in maybe splitting a space, because we're doing the same thing, why not do it together?
The two businesses moved into a store on Jefferson Avenue in March 2024, and on February 15th they hosted the grand opening of Ethical Bodies and The Goodish on Cherokee Street, their second location together. Both brands cater to different styles. Ethical Bodies leans more feminine, while The Goodish is more unisex. Together, they offer plus-sized, modern, and vintage clothing options with an emphasis on sustainability.
There's just pounds and pounds and mountains of clothes that people just toss away every single moment of every single day. So I think it's important to figure out how to breathe new life into clothes and not just toss them aside.
They also avoid fast fashion items, which are garments that are produced rapidly and cheaply, often in third world countries.
You may get a low cost for an item, but we don't know how that was, if it was ethically sourced, the labor that went into it, all of that behind fast fashion. Like, yes, the price point is there, but unfortunately, the ethics behind it all may not be.
Erica Hallman says it's important for their customers to have options.
One of the things that I hear most often that is sometimes like overwhelming, but usually in a good way for people, is the fact that they can come in here and they have so many options of things that do fit them, but they have the option to say, no, actually, I don't love that. I like it, but I don't love that.
Yeah.
Whereas normally we're forced to just take whatever's available because it's the only thing that fits.
Ethical Bodies and The Goodish carry sizes large to 4X and have a universal size chart to help shoppers find the right fit.
We basically looked at all of the current brands, especially starting with plus sizes, and we took those measurements, fused them together to make a size chart that was the best version we could out of like months and months of research.
So it's important that we try to be as consistent as possible with the size chart. We do that by making sure we include waist measurements, hip measurements, chest measurements, arms, and like arm openings.
And besides the size chart, the store has other accommodations to make customers feel more comfortable, like large fitting rooms with fans and seating for all sizes. Erica Hallman says being able to try things on in store is crucial.
I think it's really important for people to be able to see themselves, for people to be able to come in, try something on, which is an experience that like too often we don't get to have. There's very few places that carry plus size in the store any longer, and most of the time we're relegated to online options.
And the group says customers' reaction to the store can be emotional.
It's been so amazing. We've had laughs and tears and like happy tears. And it's just been so lovely because even us growing up, we have the shared experience of not being able to shop with our friends. So when you're creating that space for people to do that, it's really, really special.
For Living St. Louis, I'm Veronica Moheski.
That was so lovely. 9 PBS cover that. That's so great to see. I didn't realize the struggle of what the experience was that. So that was a really big eye-opener for me. I didn't even realize they could never find options in stores and that they couldn't go shopping with their friends because of it. And that they have to resort to buying online is such a shame because everyone deserves to be able to find what they love in a store, whether vintage or just a quote-unquote normal store, like a fast fashion store. I low-key want to visit that store. I think it'd be a great learning experience. Very nice. Love to see it. Love to see it. Inspired by humanity once more. Daily dose of faith right there in humanity. Lovely. So to move on, I did see that there has been a lot of like fashion action, fashion shows, fashion swaps happening, especially with today also being Earth Day. There's a lot going on today. And so leading up to Earth Day and Earth Week and Earth Month, there has been a lot of fashion lovers that have been doing their part. Their fashion. Let's see. Okay, so it was a Millburn High School Environmental Club. And they had their second annual thrift shop. It was at a Bauer Center. Very interesting. I'm always curious how these partnerships happen because I'm sure that sustainable fashion is like something that's barely emerging in a lot of people's mind. And so when like a high school or environmentalist or anyone that's going forward and being like, hey, can we host something here? I just wonder what goes through people's mind when they're presented with this thing. They're like, what is sustainable fashion, you know? So I always wonder if they already have an awareness or like are open to learn, and that's how the collaborations happen, where they can host stuff at centers. But I think that in itself, like reaching out to local places and being like, hey, we're doing a clothing swap, can we host it here, can actually open up a lot of conversations and a lot of like awareness that otherwise wouldn't happen. And that in itself is like activism or like outreach or just like education. But yeah, they sourced a lot of the clothing from a consignment store. And oh, this is based in India. Okay, so this happened in India. So they got stuff from a local consignment store, and then they had accessories that were either made from packaging waste or donated by Goods Again, which created modern upcycled goods. And basically the concept, oh wait, did they do a show? I thought this was a clothing swap. Thrift pop-up. Annual thrift shop. Oh, interesting. Oh, annual thrift shop. I've never heard of that. Okay. And then they also had a fashion show last year. Oh, okay, that's what I read when I was skimming the article. So they had a bunch of things with sustainable fashion involved. Did they do a show this year? I'm so confused about this article. Okay, so I think they did a fashion show and a fashion shop, and it was developed over a period of 2 months. They got clothing from a consignment store. They worked with local designers, and then the main concept within the show was telling the stories that they wanted to tell. Nice. Now we're getting somewhere. Alrighty. That's an amazing thing. Like, as young as 16, 17, 18, people can be doing like sustainable fashion shows. Hopefully more high schoolers get involved. I've been seeing a lot of college students do like sustainable fashion shows through their fashion design or like fashion merchandising programs. But do you think a high schooler is putting together or helping put together a fashion show, a sustainable fashion show over a period of 2 months, and not only reaching out to like their stores, but like to other centers to have this happen? I think it's also just empowering and like informative for everyone involved. So this is super cool, and it was part of their climate action program. So whoa, nice. I wonder what their pop-up thrift store looks like. All items will be $5. Nice. And all the proceeds will help protect clean water. Oh, very lovely. I love that intersection. Sustainable fashion pop-up shop and fashion show to help the earth. Nice. See, this is what we need in the world. I love it. Okay, so another interesting article that I saw was by a new magazine I haven't really seen before, but it's called Strikes Magazine. And the article is called Worn Once and Worth More, the New Value of Vintage. And it's basically a person exploring sustainability. If it will load, we will read it. So it says, there was a time when secondhand clothes were synonymous with necessity, a rite of passage for broke college students, punks, or your aunt who swore she found her leather jacket for $5 in 1987. Today, thrifting is no longer just about sustainability or scrappiness. It's a lifestyle aesthetic, a badge of curated authenticity, and increasingly a big business. So thanks to resale platforms like Depop, Poshmark, and The Real, secondhand fashion has become aspirational. Not only is it more environmentally responsible, it's also seen as exclusive, one of a kind, and impossibly, quote unquote, cool. The result, a booming resale economy where that worn once top can now be worth more socially and economically than it was then new. So apps like Depop have transformed the way people shop. These platforms offer more than just a place to buy vintage clothes. They work like social media with followers, likes, and curated storefronts. The best sellers don't just thrift, they brand themselves. Their shops are mood boards, their drops are events. Interesting. So this new wave of vintage resale has been seen as a rebellion against fast fashion, with people choosing to buy secondhand rather than contribute to mass production. However, inflated prices and exclusive sales have made thrift culture something nearly unattainable, completely defeating the purpose of thrifting in the first place. That's a very interesting take. I do think that it is a bit pricier to buy from like online apps versus like a normal thrift store in your local area, because they don't have to put that extra like shipping cost that's usually like $6 or $7. So it may be more affordable to go to your local shop. But if you don't have any local shops, I think Depop and Poshmark and all these other online resources are completely valid. I also don't think that it's bad that there's more of that community feel on the apps. I know they're not dogging on that, but exclusive sales kind of makes it seem like they're creating cliques of some sort, or the sales are for certain people or certain circles of someone or something. So I wonder what they meant by exclusive sales. Because I don't really agree that Depop or Poshmark or online resources make things more exclusive. I think it reduces exclusivity because it brings more access to vintage goods, even if they are at a higher price. So I'm just kind of wondering what they mean by exclusive sales. But otherwise, I do agree with the sentiment of like this is really transforming how we're consuming vintage fashion, because it is. So it says, while sustainability is a significant plus for secondhand fashion, reality is a little murkier. Many sellers now buy in bulk from thrift stores or wholesalers, driving up local thrift prices and reducing access for lower income shoppers. I don't know if that's true, but there has been a lot of conversations about how like if you're wealthier or not from the area, you shouldn't necessarily thrift at certain locations, because it makes the access of vintage shops, vintage clothing harder for low income shoppers. I don't know if that's like a statistically proven thing. Like, is it proven that sellers or like more richer people that are not from the area really reduce the access of lower income shoppers, especially when I've seen that thrift stores can even like sell 50% of what comes into their store in the first place. So I'm always wary when we have these very generalized statements like this, how sellers are causing reduced access for lower income shoppers. And I like to think about the nuance in a broader picture. So like for me, I want to state my bias. I am a reseller on Depop. I do rehome vintage pieces on Depop, but I'm also a low income shopper, and I'm also a frontline low income shopper on top of that. So if I'm a low income reseller and I'm a low income shopper, am I reducing not only access to myself but to others in my community by doing this? But I don't source my clothing from local thrift stores. I source my clothing from the Goodwill bins, and that's in a different city. So I just know that nuance and context here is very complex, and I don't think these blanket statements make justice to that nuance. And I think it also blankets this term into a sense of like morality of like sellers are bad and those that are not sellers are good people. If you don't resell, you're helping your community. If you do resell, you're negatively impacting your community. So like there's more conversations to be had here, and I wish they had stated that, but I think their bias is showing of like, yeah, you're gonna actually make this whole world of vintage fashion and sustainability worse if you are selling in bulk. So yeah, but I also have my biases. I recognize that as well. And then they continue on to say, on platforms like Depop, it's not unusual to find a Y2K vintage tank top originally brought from Shein being sold for 3 times that price. Yeah. I mean, some people are just reselling it way too high. Some people will be charging way too much for something, so I agree with that. It's like too expensive sometimes. But I saw a TikTok once that said a lot of like Gen Z resellers are going to think something is vintage when it's not. But I mean, that's the fast fashion effect, I guess. Like, no one really knows what's good quality anymore because they've been entrenched in fast fashion their whole life. Which is really sad. It's really sad. But they raised an important question. It says, is secondhand still ethical when repackaged as luxury? Oh, but they made a U-turn there. I was not expecting that question. Okay, let me think. Is secondhand still ethical when repackaged as luxury? Huh? I don't get the question. What is happening? Says, enter the influencers. Oh, okay. Another turn. This writer loves to pivot. So it says, most recently, celebrities and content creators have shown off their thrifted Coachella looks or hashtag vintage finds. Cool, cool. Profiting on sustainability while wearing pieces sourced by a team of stylists from high-end vintage dealers. Oof, another blanket term. Maybe celebrities and content creators do have a stylist, and maybe they do have high-end vintage dealers, but that I don't think that makes it the luxury fashion. And then they continue on to say their feeds are filled with throwback tees and upcycled denim, but they rarely show the hours of digging or the reality of thrift store pricing. Like the process. I think they just want to know the process of how they found the vintage items. I mean, that's a good question. Like, did they personally find it? Where did they find it? Where did they buy it? Did it take them hours to find it in the bins? That's a good question. I wish the celebrities and stylists talked about this too. That'd be cool to know. And then they continue on to say, take one scroll through Coachella posts and you'll see the power of curated vintage. Celebrities aren't just wearing vintage, they're styling vintage. Think archival Jean? Is it Jean Paul? Jean Paul. I don't know how to say his last name. Paired with cowboy boots from a Los Angeles resale boutique or a crochet set labeled boho, and all of it was pulled from a PR showroom. How do you know that though? We can't make blanket assumptions. I don't like celebrities or influencers most of the time, but what are these generalizations? We don't know. Also, usually when you pull something from a showroom, it's like archival luxury fashion. It's not just like general vintage pieces unless it's from the specific brand. And I think that's what they're talking about. But like, yeah, they could source it anywhere from a boutique or from a flea market, from anywhere really. It creates a disconnect where ethical fashion becomes performative, taken over by the same forces it was trying to resist. I don't know where this term came from. I think what they're trying to say, or maybe what I'm trying to get from this or understanding, is that we just need to know where these celebrities and influencers are getting their stuff from, because if not, then we're just making assumptions about what ethical fashion is or how it should look like or how it should be styled, and then it becomes more of a performance versus like a real thing that's practiced and cared for. Like, do these influencers and celebrities really care, or are they just using vintage because it's popular, because it's in right now, because it's good for the event? Like, who knows? So those are like things we do have to consider, honestly. And they also go on to explain that Coachella has showcased a lot of hyper curated thrifted aesthetics that only the most well-connected can ever access. I was raised with thrifted clothing my whole life. So if this is true, I've been the most well-connected all my life. I don't think this term is true. I'm just nitpicking on the article to show the nuance, but I think those are the most low income and the most underprivileged are the ones that are the most often thrifting or using what's already in existence. So blanket statements don't really serve justice to what's actually really happening to those that are under-resourced and frontline and like struggling to by quote unquote new or like fast fashion. So Daniela seems to be on like a journey of like exploring what sustainability means, and I respect her for that. But she does end off by saying the good news is that there is more interest in secondhand fashion. It is unlikely to fade. We are more conscious than ever about the toll that the fast fashion industry has on the environment, by saying, if the current moment tells us anything, secondhand fashion is no longer just an alternative. It's a statement. It's a statement. Whether worn once or worn out, vintage today is worth more than just what's on the price tag. Yes, I agree. They're from Tallahassee. I like these articles because even if they're not the most nuanced articles, it does bring up a lot of points, a lot of questions, a lot of like, is this a term or a statement that I actually believe in? And that's how we start to question more of our beliefs, other people's beliefs, and find commonality even in midst of like disagreement or conflict in other people's beliefs. And I think that's normal. Like, I'm not going to fully agree with someone. I don't think it's natural to agree with someone 100% of the way in every single thing. So nuance, disagreement, conversations, dialogue, it's all necessary to create the future that we want. And Marissa says stylists often get vintage from the designer's vault. It's not clothing available to the general public anyways. So that's the good thing about these articles. It just brings out more of the nuance. I didn't even know that. I was like, I think they're getting it from the showroom. I think they need access from the designers. So they have designer vaults. Interesting. It sounds very mysterious and like business. Like it's the vault. You go to the vault. I've never heard of that. Very good to know though. But one of the other things that I saw that has more of an international feel to sustainable fashion is this series where Brazil explores different markets, and then they talk about fashion with a consciousness within Brazil, which I found very interesting because I've never heard of sustainable fashion within the Brazilian context. Fashion Revolution has a lot of ambassadors from Brazil. Like when we were saying the thread in public thing, there's Brazil, 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 Brazil. So I think there is a lot of interest for sustainability and conscientiousness. It's just I've never really paid attention until now. So I wonder what we'll learn in this video.
From Sao Paulo, where fashion is more than style. It's a movement for sustainability, identity, and a celebration of Brazil's diversity.
From the dazzling costumes of carnival to the effortless elegance of everyday wear, Brazilian fashion is evolving, blending cultural heritage with eco-conscious design. In the final part of our three-part series, we explore fashion as a force for change. Using her platform to champion the Amazon rainforest and its people, we follow indigenous model Zaya Guarani. And we meet designer Aaron Martin, whose brand, Missy, fuses sustainability with Brazilian heritage.
Here in Brazil, people are only too aware that the fashion industry is one of the world's biggest polluters. With the country's Amazon rainforest under threat, there's an urgent need for sustainable clothing.
One of the loudest voices leading the charge from the world's fashion capital, Paris, is Zaya Guarani, an indigenous model breaking into the high fashion industry. Born and raised in the Amazon rainforest and now based in Paris, She's become an activist using her platform to challenge stereotypes, amplify indigenous voices, and protest against deforestation of her homeland.
My name is Aya Guarani, and I'm a model, actress, activist. I advocate my voice for the rights of indigenous people in the world. My reality was not very pretty because I had to constantly be in a survival mode with my family. As we are a minority, we didn't have protection in our own rights. I was displaced and live in displaced community. But it's still there, the knowledge was alive. The forest teaches us. It teaches us to have patience. It teaches us to love your own being. I decided to move to Rio de Janeiro because I didn't have choice. Not just fight for my future, but give back to the community and building a mission where the northern teenagers can have the possibility and the choice to be driven by their own dreams. Parque Lage is a special place because in that land, it was indigenous ethnicities before. This place holds a strong energetical portal, you know, and when I went there, I felt that energy. Becoming a model, it was a strong journey because still in those days, I'm not that accepted in the industry. Stella McCartney. She's one of my favorite designers. She's a pioneer in fashion sustainability, using the right materials and recycling, upcycling, and then less wasting. Like this beautiful piece that I'm wearing that is recycling gold. I really think that Brazil now is being also a very strong front leader in the ecological knowledge. And I think this matched really well with France.
Return to the garden she once had been.
It was my first movie. Darren is an extraordinary person. He's a visionary.
I met Zaya, I thought she was amazing, and I just was excited to work with her. I made a documentary called The Territory, which was about a tribe in the Amazon, and she's actually related. I just really wanted to collaborate with her, and that's why I put her in the movie.
Fashion is a global language, and when it's used with intention to raise awareness, it can be powerful.
Here in Sao Paulo, the designer Aaron Martin celebrates Brazil's rich cultural diversity in his eco-conscious designs. With his brand Missy, he's dressed the First Lady, Janjalula da Silva, and he even hosted Oprah Winfrey in his store, showing that the world is paying attention to Brazil's fashion scene.
The name Missy comes from my reflections about Brazilian identity, from the word miscegenation, which means a mixture of races. It's what emerges when we research what Brazil's identity is. We're talking about the most mixed country in the world.
Raised in Sinop, a small city in the Amazon region, Aaron Martin's path to becoming one of Brazil's most talked about designers was anything but conventional.
It's a city that today is very well known for Brazilian agribusiness, but it was also the first part of the Amazon to be deforested. As a designer who's trying to be as conscious as possible in what I do, I create based on my lived experience.
Aaron Aaron's focus lies in celebrating Brazil's identity through fashion, while promoting sustainable practices in his creative process.
This is my workshop, which is where we develop our designs and then they go on to our factories.
Are these your workers?
Yes, they're my children, really, Caju and Forró. They're always here with me. I'm their dad. This here is a tropical plant called the elephant ear. And this is a shirt that we sell for men and women. It's made with Brazilian silk. What's interesting is not even Brazilians know that Brazil exports its silk. We export silk that the brand Hermès uses.
Maria, eu tava só a gente mostra aqui, essas camadas aqui.
Quando saio de casa, vejo as garotas.
And are all the materials you use eco-conscious?
Mostly it really is a priority in my creative process. We focus on the raw material, the origins of the materials we're working with, and how sustainable it is. Sustainability for us is the starting point for everything. Brazil is very self-sufficient in creating high-quality global fashion, not only because of the raw materials, but also the savoir-faire of the seamstresses and the labor force that Brazil needs to re-industrialize, and also because of the models.
Is it important for you to have indigenous models as well?
Yes.
Very important. Today, more than 50% of the models I use are indigenous and Afro-indigenous. I don't think you can talk about Brazil without talking about diversity, the miscegenation that is inherent, even in the name of our brand. So it's very important. It's what makes our fashion, our country, even more beautiful. Without a doubt, it's our diversity.
I come from Acre, which is Amazonian territory. Both of my families on my mother's side and my father's side are indigenous. My family has suffered so much prejudice for being indigenous. So I think it's really important to bring this into the fashion world, you know, to recognize these cultures.
With 3 stores in Sao Paulo, Aaron Martin's avant-garde and sustainable creations are drawing attention beyond Brazil's borders.
When Oprah Winfrey came to Brazil, our shop was the only place she went to. She bought 3 bags. The impact was immense. It was on the front page of several Brazilian newspapers. For my brand, there was definitely the period before Oprah, and then what happened afterwards.
And tell me a bit about these bags, because they've got a good story, haven't they?
This is made from pirarucu. It's a Brazilian fish, a big fish from the Amazon region. I grew up eating it. 40% of the fish produced in Brazil is exported to the United States, mainly to the Texas market, to make cowboy boots. This part, the floater, is made from leather that we take from the legs and head of the ox. It's fully traceable, as we know exactly where the ox was raised, so we know whether or not it was raised in a deforestation zone. Through these creations, we're showing a new Brazil. They represent a technological Brazil, a sustainable Brazil.
I'd heard of ox leather, but fish leather? No, so it was surprising to see that. The leather is a bit woven, thicker. It's heavier to work with.
O futuro da moda brasileira é complexo.
The future of Brazilian fashion is complex. I think we are the future. I think the future is miscegenation and Misi as a brand that comes from diversity.
Com todos os miscigenados globais.
I think Brazil, as the most mixed-race country in the world, is the gateway to a new vision of global multiculturalism.
Essa multicultura global.
Aaron Martin isn't just designing clothes, he's creating a movement that fuses sustainability, culture and innovation. From Sao Paulo to fashion capitals like Paris, Missy and Zaya Guarani are proving that fashion can be a powerful tool for change.
That brings us to the end of our 3-part series from Brazil. We've explored the power of the country's creative industries, from fashion to film to music. Thanks very much for joining us. See you back in Paris very soon.
Interesting. I did not know that they were so interested in sustainable fashion. I think it makes sense now that I see this video. Like, a lot of the citizens may, quote unquote, be radicalized or just more aware about environmentalism and being conscious about environmental issues and solutions. And then when they turn to fashion, it's just maybe a bit easier to connect the dots. I would love to learn more about Brazilian citizens and designers on a more first-hand basis. I love the culture, but totally unaware of, I guess, what I call is their radicalization, but it's just their lived experiences of seeing their surroundings being destroyed and just experiencing the climate crisis firsthand. So very lovely. France 24 featured them. Very nice. Okay, so we're gonna move on. See, that's what else do we got going on? Okay, so I've been seeing a lot of videos on TikTok about the luxury fashion world, and I talked about it in my last live stream, and a lot of people say it's fake. A lot of people say it's real, but I think whether these videos are real or not, there's just a lot of contention right now and a lot of focus on like where luxury fashion and where luxury bags are being made. And so Forbes is continuing to follow up on this conversation and basically explaining that brand image is everything. An unexpected new voice is gaining traction, fashion transparency movement, and that's the manufacturers themselves. So on TikTok, a growing number of Chinese suppliers have shared behind-the-scenes footage of products that they're producing for major brands, and largely in response to Trump tariffs, these posts are made of what's come to be known as quote-unquote factory talk, and exposes just how some products cost before they're marked up to eye-watering retail prices. One viral video shows a manufacturer walking viewers through the process of producing a handbag sold for over $300 and revealing that the actual production cost was under $15. So in another clip, a user showcases shoes for a major Western footwear brand, outlining the cost to make totaling less than 10% of the final selling price. Many of these factory talk videos have since been removed, but not before amassing millions of views. Interesting. I wonder why they're taken down. See, that's the thing. A lot of people are like, no, this must be fake. If they took them down, they were just saying stuff to tarnish the reputation of like global brands so people can buy from China or whatever. But the article continues on to say this isn't just a trend on social media. It's also about transparency. It's about holding the fashion industry accountable for not just what it makes, but how and why it makes it. So here is more information. So the truth about markups. Of course, markups are nothing new within retail. From luxury heritage house to mid-tier high street brands, markups are designed to cover far more than the cost of physical production. You're also paying for design, marketing, logistics, brand prestige, and now more than ever, a promise of values such as sustainability, ethics, and responsibility. Some luxury brands like Kering, parent company of Gucci, Bottega Veneta, I don't know how to say that, and Balenciaga have invested in building ESG-forward practices and transparent supply chains, aiming to ensure source materials are responsibly obtained. LVMH has made similar commitments, including efforts in biodiversity and regenerative agriculture for raw materials. And these initiatives are encouraging, but also very expensive. Naturally, sourcing recycled cashmere or traceable organic cotton comes at a higher price than generic alternatives. Shouldn't brands that generally invest in better practices be allowed to charge higher prices? That's a good question. And then the article continues on to say, but here's the question. What happens when sustainability becomes part of the markup without delivering the substance? That, my guy, is called greenwashing. And that happens often with fast fashion brands. It says when brands start charging premium prices under the banner of quote-unquote sustainable fashion, how do we know whether the added cost reflects a real ESG effort or simply capitalizes on conscious consumerism? We don't know. We don't know. We just don't know. Tears down my face. See, that's the problem. We're just like going off of what they're saying, what their website says, what their reports say, what the sustainability officer that's being paid way too much to greenwash says. And then later on we find out, dang, they're lying to us. What did I actually pay for? Lies. I'm sure there's actually like good initiatives and like good sustainable fashion brands. I just personally would rather buy used, rather buy the 6 generations worth of clothing that's floating around on our planet. But if you have the money to buy from a premium sustainable fashion brand and trust what's on their website, trust their reports, trust their sustainability officers, that's your freedom of choice. That's your individualism right there. That's your money speaking for your values. But for me, I don't have money to buy from like brands that specialize in sustainable fashion, whether it's through organic cotton or recycled materials. I just would love to just use what I have and buy from a local thrift store or from like Depop. But honestly, we don't really know. We're just trusting the process and sustainability and sustainable fashion. And that's why I'm always like, we need to force brands to actually care, to guarantee that what we're buying is responsible, sustainable, ethical. Otherwise, if we don't have those laws, we're just like, yeah, we'll trust the process. And that doesn't really do anyone good except for the pockets of the executives. That's just my perspective. You can disagree with me, but laws will ensure the truth. They will ensure responsibility and sustainability. If it's backed and governed by the government who is making sure that there's like true audits, true back checking of like quote unquote facts that brands love to give us. And the article itself leads us to that question. It brings us to the greenwashing dilemma. You're likely seen it before. Capsule collections dubbed conscious or responsible or planet friendly, all shrouded in soft lighting and earthy color palettes. Greenwashing, the act of misleading consumers into believing a product or brand is more sustainable than it really is, has become one of fashion's most persistent issues. Because of lack of laws. We need laws here. We need the laws. Oh gosh, I'm gonna keep repeating myself until I die. And so the article continues on to say, for example, a t-shirt made of sustainable fabric that contains just 5% organic cotton, or a brand claiming carbon neutrality without disclosing whether its offsets are verified or effective. Even major brands like H&M have been called out for misleading marketing and their sustainability collections. In one lawsuit, items promoted as being made with 50% sustainable materials were found to be 100% polyester. I like how they named no names in this one. They don't want to make no alleged comments. This journalism is smart. And then it says, this is where factory talk becomes more than just voyeuristic content. It becomes a crowdsourced tool, giving consumers access to information previously reserved for supply chain insiders. If we can see now, what? If we can what? Oh God, what? If we can now see the origin, why does that not sound right for me? If we can now see the God damn it. If we can now see the origin, okay, cost and production, I got it, guys. I got it. If we can see the origin, cost, and production methods of our clothes from the very people who make them, greenwashing becomes harder to get away with. True facts. I agree. Would you agree? But it says, what does this mean for brands? So we're entering a new era of consumer power. Audiences are more informed, more skeptical, and more connected than ever before. The glossy advertising campaigns and polished brand manifestos are no longer enough. It says, if a claim can't hold up under scrutiny, it's getting called out. The risk isn't just reputational, it's relational. Brands are built on trust, and today values drive value. Consumers don't just want to buy products, they want to buy it from companies whose actions reflect their promises. The smartest brands are leaning into this shift rather than resisting it. Take Vivo Barefoot, for example. What is Vivo Barefoot? Let me not make fun of them, okay? Says their annual impact report, Unfinished Business, outlines their journey towards becoming a regenerative business, highlighting both successful, oh my God, I cannot read anymore, highlighting both successes and setbacks. It's a transparent account of their efforts and a bid to promote accountability and shared learning. So the article ends off by saying transparency doesn't mean perfection. It means honesty, and increasingly, honesty is what consumers are willing to pay for, because sustainability doesn't just live in the products we choose to buy. Sustainable fashion lives in how those products are made, by whom, and under what conditions. Sustainability lies within the full story, where buying better is real, not just an Instagram caption. And that's why we need laws. We need strong laws that force regulation and accountability by fast fashion brands, and also for any brand that wants to be like, yeah, I'm adhering to this so that you can trust me. I don't want voluntary transparency. I want forced transparency to guarantee truthful, grounded authenticity and honesty. Yes, TED Talk, mic drop. I need some forced transparency. Also, I want to say brands have been given so many chances to do this, thing of like sharing the truth or sharing their supply chain, and they don't. They persistently don't. Marissa says, I learned a lot. Wow, fish leather was very beautiful and cool. Oh, we were talking about the France video. Yeah, I learned a lot too. It was a very informative piece. I never realized that the Brazil fashion industry can be that nuanced and that connected to environmentalism. I definitely do have some nationalist biases of only understanding things from like Mexico or United States or from Canada, because I'm so close to those things. That's why I love YouTube. It just shows you the world from your room. I love it. I love it. Okay, so to move on, I am going to get into this very fun fashion show that happened in Arizona. I know I go from like good and bad news. I get the like bipolar effect. It's just, I get very overwhelmed if I read or like talk about bad news. And then if it's only good news, I'm like, I'm not doing service to everything else that's happening. So we're going to look at this fashion show that shows like sustainable pieces, and it's called Refabricate, and it happened April 19th. Very fun video.
I almost gave up on my dark.
No ads, please. Capitalism, no, not today, sir.
Here at Tempe Marketplace, where tomorrow night there's going to be a fashion show taking place, and with me is Angela, the co-founder of Fabric, who's putting on this fashion show. And so it's called Refabricate, correct? Okay, and so can you tell me what is going to be happening tomorrow night?
Well, we do this every year. This is actually the launch of Eco Fashion Week every year, and it's called Refabricate because we are refabricating denim jeans into gorgeous new pieces for the runway, and it's right here at Tempe Marketplace. It's actually at the main stage, and it's about 40 local designers, students, sewists, fashion lovers, sustainability lovers, and you're going to see some amazing creations on the runway.
And so why denim? Why is it such a focus for you guys?
First of all, fashion in general is one of the most polluting industries on the planet, and it's ready for some disruption. And luckily we have a lot of people concerned about that and doing something about it. And there's a lot of ways that you can make fashion more sustainable, including like small batch domestic manufacturing, using sustainable fabrics, things like that. But upcycling is a big part of that. And if you can take all the excess fabric and keep it from the landfills, that's upcycling. And you can turn it into new things that you can wear. And denim is one of the pieces that is the biggest culprit. It uses so much water and all the dyes, and there's so much of it. And so we thought that's the perfect thing to actually represent what upcycling do for the industry.
Oh, sorry.
So this isn't your guys' first year putting on this fashion show. It's, we think, year 4. And so what's going to be different this year than maybe the first year?
Well, each year it's different designers. So you get to see unique pieces each year. And I'm always blown away by what people can create out of a pair of jeans. I mean, there's like ball gowns, there's very avant-garde things, very wearable things, there's young, like kids stuff, all the way up to last year we had a grandma on the runway, so you never know what to expect. I love it.
And so speaking of models, fashion, we're going to check out, we have some of the models that are going to be here tomorrow night. Do you want to walk us through some of them?
Yes, let's have them come out. Okay, so our first designer is actually Twyla Rovan, and this is Tanaya modeling her piece. And Twyla's actually an employee of Fabric. She's actually the production manager, and so she was really excited to participate in this. And Tanaya's actually her sister, so they get to do this together, which is pretty awesome. And this is Twyla herself. So Twyla is one of the amazing people that works at Fabric and actually helps to make other designers' dreams come true. We manufacture a whole bunch of clothing there at Fabric, so this is her chance to be on the runway and show all the things off that she can create. And now our next model here, this is Ashley, and Ashley is wearing one of Nate Klickner's designs. And Nate is actually an intern at Fabric and an up-and-coming designer. And I think this one's really cool because of the fact that it's a different color. He's actually painted the denim, so it's got like a texture to it and a stiffness that he was trying to get like a waxed look to it, which is pretty cool. And then our next model, this is Violet, and Violet's wearing Jennifer Montenegro. So Violet's been in the show every year, which is amazing. I love it. And each year we get to see her get bigger and bigger. And so this piece right here is made out of, all of these pieces are made out of a lot of different jeans. So Violet, twirl around, let's see the back. Look at the back of this, look at the front. I mean, look at all the pieces and just basically reusing the snaps, the belt loops. Every part of that jean is really what you're seeing here. And that's the challenge. So each of the people involved in this, they are told to take the pieces and use all of it, as much of it as possible, and not add any other fabrics to this. So you'll see the pocket bags, you'll see the snaps, you'll see all kinds of things from the original jeans being used in the embellishments. It's pretty cool.
And where do you guys get all this denim from? Can you donate? Do you guys have it at Fabric?
So each year it's something different. Last year we partnered with Goodwill. This year we actually partnered with Threads AZ, which is a free clothing closet that's inside of Tempe high schools. It's a pretty unique program where students can come and take clothing out of there without any cost, and so they end up with a lot of excess, and so they donated all the denim for it this year.
And so we met one of the designers. We also have two more who are here.
Let's bring the designers out. You guys come out. So we met Twyla, she's here, and then we actually have Nate and Jennifer here if you guys want to join. Yay, yeah, stand next to your models. Perfect. So Jennifer's actually been in the show every year, I think, maybe since the first year. Yes, I love it.
And so where can people learn more information about tomorrow night, get tickets if they want to come out?
So you can actually pretty easily find it just by Googling Refabricate Tempe Marketplace. It'll pop up right at the top of the search. Also on the Fabric website at fabricincubator.com on our events page, on our Instagram, Fabric Tempe. I think also probably on the Tempe Marketplace Instagram. I mean, you can really easily find this.
And what time is it happening tomorrow night?
It's at 6 o'clock, and the doors open. I mean, we're in an outside beautiful area right here, so you can walk up at 6 o'clock, enjoy drinks from Dave & Buster's. All proceeds go to our nonprofit. We're a nonprofit fashion incubator, so drink up, and then all the ticket sales go to that too. So 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, start joining the party, and then 7 o'clock is when the runway show starts.
Perfect, thank you so much. And as always, you can head to the cw7az.com for more information about this lovely fashion show.
When I started drinking warm water to help me lose weight, my friends laughed at me.
Oh God. The girl in the show is literally being tortured alive by being there. She just did not look happy. Wait, did you see her face? She looks so traumatized. I was the most anxious girl when I was growing up. So I feel for the girl because I would always look that terrified about everyone and everything. Maybe I'm just projecting, But if you see her come down the stairs, it looks like she just saw a ghost. Look at it. She looks terrified. I feel so bad for her. She must have been so nervous. And then I think in her head, that's the moment she was like, oh, I need to put my hand in the pocket. You can tell because she started like tingling. And then she's going to go for it. And go. Oh, I feel so bad for her. She looks terrified. Oh, but she's so cute. She's so cute. Very cute girl. But the pieces were beautiful. Very talented people. Just that moment was so funny. You could literally see her thought process. Look at, she starts realizing that she forgot about the hand pocket. She twitches. Oh. And in. Oh, so cute. Blink. Circle, circle. And then go back up the stairs. Oh, poor thing. She's so cute. I love the dress though. Very nice. I wish I could go. It looks so much fun. April 19th from 6 to 9 in Tempe Marketplace. Very cool. See, all these fun things are happening and I'm not going. Man. Next year we'll get them next year. Another interesting thing that I wanted to talk about before I move on. It is already 6 o'clock. I usually jump off at 6:30 and there's a bit more that I do want to talk about. But my battery is good, so there's no rush today, really. But, interesting news, going back to that. It's loading, like my brain today. Loading. Wow, it really is loading. It's thinking about life. The browser has gotten existential dread. Wait, it's going back to my Canva. Maybe I linked the wrong thing? I'll go to Ecosia. Oh my gosh, I am human. What is y'all talking about? Yes, this one. So Dr. Maha Lufti won the distinguished title as Miss UAE. Why is this website not working? Please help me. Please. It's an article about where this pageant woman won a title and she wants to create like a sustainable fashion movement. I saw it yesterday, but it seems like golftoday.ae does not want to work on me. I think I'll have to move on. But there is increasingly more pageant girls or like women getting into doing good through fashion. And so I just wanted to highlight her. Maybe I can see if there's any videos on her on YouTube because the website is just not working. Yep, it's not working at all. It's not working at all. Oh, this guy is the one that thinks that whatever is happening on TikTok is a bunch of lies. Like in terms of the Chinese manufacturers, he just thinks it's all fake and lies. It's a very interesting perspective to have. We may watch his video if we have time. Okay, so where is she at? Dang, I really wanted to talk about this. She won a recent competition and wants to spread sustainable fashion through her wins. Okay, here it is. We'll watch this.
Virgio, the trailblazing sustainable fashion brand, has joined forces with Miss UAE and Miss Planet International, Dr. Mahara Lufti, as their official sustainable fashion ambassador. Dr. Mahara Lofty said, fashion should reflect who we are and what we stand for. With Virgio, it's about style that respects both people and the planet. Together, they are companioning a new era where fashion meets purpose, ethical, stylish, and accessible. Mr. Amar Nagaram, CEO and co-founder of Virgio, commented, "At Virgio, we believe that true change in fashion starts with transparency and a commitment to the environment."
We have launched 4.5 months ago, and the initial traction is making us believe that the market is very, very receptive to us. One thing that we also believe, for us to build the true value of the brand, we need to have an offline store, and that's the reason why we are talking to few prominent malls in the country, and hopefully in next 3 to 4 months we should be opening our first store. The design house would be definitely be based out of UAE, starting with Dr. Mehra. We'll also be collaborating with a lot of designers from the region to make sure we represent the voice of design from this region for the global world. This would be the most affordable, sustainable fashion brand in the world, not just in the region. The reason is we're using technology to reduce the wastage, and whatever wastage we are reducing, we are transforming that into price effectiveness for the consumer. We don't actually make excess inventory. That's the whole model. We have built a technology which can predict what people are going to buy, and we only make what people are going to buy. So in last 1 year, when the business grew, our inventory did not grow. So that's what we are actually going after. That is the truth.
The demand of the consumers.
It's based on prediction of demand, and the ideal state to be is make it after the order is placed, and that's what we're working towards. Okay, there are two phases to manufacturing it. Since we don't copy fashion, we create originals. There is a good amount of 20-25 days of creating a pattern, making a sample, making it right, and once it is made and published on the website, every time we get an order, it takes us 2 days to make. This region actually takes around 5 days. In India, we sometimes do 3. We have acquired over 100,000 customers between India and UAE, mostly from India. No,
1 year.
1 year, mostly from India, and we have sold over 160,000 units in last 11 months.
I said we're gonna open our own line with Virgio, so it's gonna be a sustainable fashion brand with my vision on creating new dresses, daily outfits, attires that will also be sustainable, but will also align to the UAE's vision and how us as Emirati girls we wear, because we have cultures and traditions. We have specific clothing wear. We like to wear long sleeves and stuff. So we're gonna do a new line just for the UAE, and for the UAE's vision, culture, heritage, that aligns deeply with the culture. I think it would be affordable luxury for them, because we're not gonna do like overdress. It's gonna be like simple, nice, but at the same time, it aligns with the culture and heritage of the UAE. And for the pricing, it would be affordable luxury. Expectations is that Virgio definitely will comply with us, and they're gonna provide their materials, and I'm gonna provide them the design, and then they will create it together, and we'll launch the brand inshallah online on their website. I'm sure once we create the line, we're gonna definitely probably do a fashion show, probably with Dubai Fashion Week or the Fashion Factor, and we're gonna invite all of you to attend and let us know what you think of the fashion show, and I'll design it.
Very cool. I think this is just another reminder that there is always something happening, no matter if we realize it or not. Like, a lot of people do care in their own way, and sustainable fashion is growing in awareness and in initiatives and action. Designers, whether they're from India or from France or from Arizona, they're all coming together to be part of the solution, and we have to remember that. There is a lot of people that are incredibly invested in taking action, making change. Even when there is no concrete laws holding every single brand accountable, even when we have hearsay of like, oh, this is this and this is that, like, there is going to be so much nuance about the truth and the lies that brands put forth and take and do. Like, I don't know how to explain this, but like, I don't know how to not be straightforward, but for me, brands lie all the time. Brands are like just doing whatever they want to do, and it's up to us to decide to take it and just accept it and blindly follow their path, or be the leaders, be the change makers, be the people that are like, no, like we deserve better. So I love this, especially when people have power, time, privilege, those that are willing to take action. You're definitely getting some karma points. I don't know how karma works. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but I wish people good karma if they care about sustainable fashion. And like I said, there is more college students getting increasingly aware of sustainable fashion. They're doing stuff through their schools. They're launching sustainable fashion weeks. Maybe they'll get karma points because of this. Maybe not. Maybe I'll end up in hell. Either ways, I don't know. I'm not that religious. So if I'm just buried with the trees, I'll be a tree. I'll be with the trees. One with the trees. I do not know. Okay. But moving on from that tangent, because we're not religious on here. We're gonna talk about this. So Kent State Fashion says that they're thinking that fashion isn't frivolous. It's more a reflection of time and a form of expression that can speak louder than words. So they're featuring their work during the 2025 annual fashion show, the centerpiece of a week-long celebration of student talent. So the show runs April 24th through the 26th at Crawford Hall. Features 161 looks from 41 student designers, selected by a panel of industry professionals. The garments span categories from evening wear to universal design and sustainable fashion, but beneath the fabric, students say, is a deeper message. Whoa. So they say fashion is such a big indicator of where we are in the world and the economy, says Bryce Wheeler, a senior designer whose collection is inspired by black hair. Her pieces, rich in texture and shape, and reflect cultural identity. And she also says it's such an indicator of where we are as a society, what we like to do, what we like to wear, where we're going in the future. And then senior designer Rachel Stroffer used her research in clothing waste and landfills as a foundation for her biodegradable collection titled, wait, what? I cannot talk today, I'm so sorry. It says, as the foundation for her biodegradable collection titled Bury Me. Oh, we were just talking about that. Rachel, please, come in peace. She says, I wanted to find a way to combat this and find a solution to it. She said, everything is naturally dyed and 3D block printed by hand. And others like Caitlin Graham focused on craftsmanship and longevity in their collection. She explains, I'm creating looks that are timeless and will last long. Will last long, yes. Graham's collection was inspired by women feeling valued and worth. Details are a reflection of her faith. I think they ran out of words here. Details are a reflection of her faith. Yes, of course. Says the flames on the sleeves are showing my belief in how God can transform and purify our hearts. Dang, I just said we were not religious on here. And then this happens. Okay. Many students are using the runway to highlight stories of resilience, identity, and change. Well, I guess it just shows that sustainable fashion and deeper values and deeper meaning for some people are equated to like their religion or their ideas of God and origin stories. So kudos to them for combining those messages. And then someone else says, they're just some really beautiful collections. We have to tell some amazing stories of endurance and self-expression, says co-producer Britt Ashley Richter. The annual fashion show is the second largest event hosted by the School of Fashion each year and involves students across disciplines from merchandising and design to PR, modeling, and stage management. The production is led by co-producers Richard and Amelia Gardner, who have had help from faculty, directors, and designers and residents. You really see the passion, and especially when things are changing in the world. You see that in their work, and it's really beautiful, says Gardner. For students like these seniors, the show is both a launch pad and a reflection of the time they've spent developing their voice and style and in message. Everybody wears clothes. Everyone's first impression is tied to what you're wearing, Caroline Hill, a fashion student, said. So I think it's really important in building community. Very nice. So the first day will be April 21st. And then they'll also have a 3D virtual fashion show on the 22nd, which is really cool to see. And then they also have another one on the 23rd in person. And then they have a behind the scenes fashion show on the 24th. They have a live fashion illustrator / museum tour. They have an award nights fashion show and dessert reception. And then they have a School of Fashion Scholarship ceremony and then a Hall of Fame gala on the 26th. Very fancy school. What school is this? They did a lot of effort. Kent, Ohio. Nice. Let's look at the video. Load for me. And the power.
Slows down Sophia Wilson. Because with Xfinity Internet and Xfinity Mobile, she can stream the biggest matches on the road. And
not the ad.
Games at home.
Yo. Gosh, not the ads.
Fashion kicks off its annual Fashion Week, and with shows and events happening every day starting on Monday. News 5's Elizabeth Van Mitri spoke with student designers who say no matter what the state of fashion still matters.
For these Kent State Fashion School seniors,
it's really exciting.
This is more than just a fashion show.
You've been working for this for 4 years.
It's the moment their collections, months, even years in the making, hit the runway for the first time.
Seeing everything coming together and being put together is really wonderful.
To the audience, it's a showcase of new designs. But to these students, the looks reveal something more.
Fashion is like such a big indicator of where we are, like in the world, in the economy.
Bree Willer's collection draws inspiration from black hair, a celebration of texture, shape, and cultural identity. She says fashion speaks.
It's just like a true indicator of where we are as a society, what we like to do, what we like to wear, where we're going in the future.
That same lens guided Rachel Stauffer's designs. Her research uncovered a hard truth. Landfills are overflowing with discarded clothing.
I wanted to find a way to combat this and find a solution to it.
Her collection, titled Bury Me, is completely biodegradable.
Everything's naturally dyed and 3D block printed by hand.
Others, like Caitlin Graham, focused on fashion that lasts far beyond a single season.
I'm creating looks that are timeless and will last long.
There's just some really beautiful collections we have that tell some amazing stories of endurance and self-expression.
Co-producers Brett Ashley Richer and Amelia Gardner say that message of global influence and personal meaning is woven throughout this show.
You can really see that passion, and especially when things are changing in the world, you see that in their work, and it's really beautiful.
Fashion has always been more than fabric and thread. It's a mirror of our values, a time capsule of history, and for these designers, a call to action.
Everybody wears clothes. Everybody's first impression is tied to what you're wearing, so I think it's really important in building community.
For News 5, I'm Elizabeth Van Mitri.
Shout out for Ohio. Oh, Ohio. Yeah, that's very interesting. Kent State fashion students. Wow, they're so talented. The pieces are so good. Very cool. I love this concept of like doing designs around hair. That was such a innovative, cool idea. I've never seen that. And then this biodegradable collection, and it was so aesthetically beautiful as well. I'm like highly impressed with the talent. That's so amazing. This is crafted by hand. These are really good quality things. Very nice. I wonder if they have a YouTube channel so we can watch one of their shows from last year. I think they showed a preview of one and I was like, oh, I like that. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Oh, what's this? I went undercover to investigate Sheehan's labor violations. Oh, we shall watch that. But let me not get sidetracked. We were looking at the Kent State. Oh gosh. Fashion show. Fashion show. Fashion show. Ba ba ba. Where is it? Oh, I love this. 2022 Kent State Fashion Show with commentary. Oh, I love this so much. They're really good at getting on the news. Whoa. Okay, okay. We'll get to you. We'll get to you. Sorry, I'm getting excited over here. Okay, let's watch this for a second. Oh my gosh. Ohio is where it's at. I'm gonna get copyright violated though. Or give it a second. Got me.
Forever I've had the fascination of folding paper. Last spring I studied in Hong Kong for 6 months. There's origami, but there's also the garments underneath, the base garments. A lot of this inspiration comes from me being in Hong Kong. The juxtaposition from the buildings to the nature that they include around all the buildings, in the buildings. The structure of my garments came from that.
Wow, that was so cool. Dang, I should have gone to Kent State. Celebración.
My collection is inspired by folk dresses coming from 2 regions of Mexico, which is Veracruz and the Federal District of Mexico. The purpose of the collection is to celebrate Latinx and Hispanic heritage and culture, and to also honor traditional aspects of the folk dresses.
I would love to have her on my podcast. Sheila Silva, I will be emailing you. Oh my god, that's a long Gmail, but I will email you. That's so cool. Okay, that's amazing to know. I'm gonna move on just because of the sake of copyright. The music is gonna kill me, and my account may even get a copyright strike. I've been lucky enough that it just has been like, oh, it's a copyright warning, but I don't want to risk it. They do use a lot of music with the overlay commentary, but if you want to check the full video out, it's called 2022 Kent State Fashion Show with commentary track. Very cool. We're gonna actually move on and watch this video. I just came to find out existed. It's called I Went Undercover to Investigate Sheehan's Labor Violation. It's by Cynthia Lynn. So let's go ahead and watch this. I have no idea what it's about, but let's give it a try.
This is a video about Sheehan's supply chain that has never been shown on YouTube. I am at a village where local people call Sheehan Village because here are where hundreds of Sheehan's manufacturers are located. Today, my brother and I are going to go inside this village and hopefully to capture some footage of Sheehan's extensive supply chain. Back in 2022, Sheehan was questioned about its labor violation in its supply chain.
Sorry.
Here in China. Sheehan then pledged $15 million over 3 to 4 years to upgrade its supply chain, aimed to ensure ethical practice and improve the welfare of workers. Despite these efforts, Sheehan continues to be questioned over labor practices, including concerns about forced labor and working conditions within its extensive supply chain. About 2 years has passed. Let's see how Sheehan is doing with its commitment. This village is called Nancun, located in Panyu District, Guangzhou, a city in southern China and home to Sheehan's headquarters. It has been reported that there are more than 500 large and small manufacturers in the
I think I'm getting Audio issues. Let me see. I think you can't hear the audio, can you? It's been happening for a while, hasn't it? Dang. I think there is audio issues. I thought it was just my headphones, but it seems like it's just glitching out, huh? Why? YouTube, I love America. I love America. Stream status poor. Here, let's make it excellent. I love America. Yes, sir. I may just end it off. I did have other stuff to talk about. Yeah, I don't know how to fix this. Why is the audio not working? Let me see. Let me fix the capture. Why is the audio not working? Let's see. The display is gonna leave for a second. Give me 1 minute. Okay. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay. For a second, give me 1. I don't know why. Okay. I'm having tech issues. I may call it today at this time. Yeah, it's not working. It's not working. I'm gonna see you guys. There's no way. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know why. Okay, bye guys. I don't know what to do. Call it today. Yeah, I'll see you. Bye. Bye.